Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Table, Building Healthy Habits and Nutritious Communities. I'm Gina Deluca, registered dietitian with NYU Langone Perlmutter Cancer Center, Huntington.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Encarnacion. I'm a registered dietitian from NYU Langone Perlmutter Cancer Center at Lake Success.
So as far as disclosures, we have none to reveal. We just like to get that bit of housekeeping out of the way in the beginning, and we're looking forward to a great evening with you tonight. Next slide, thanks.
March is National Nutrition Month. National Nutrition Month is an educational and informational campaign sponsored by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. This year, the theme is Beyond the Table. Next slide, please.
So as an introduction, this year, our focus widens to encompass the space beyond the table in a more comprehensive way than ever before. This focus aims to include the farm to fork aspect of food and nutrition, highlighting not only what we eat, but why, how, and with whom. It includes exploring food production and distribution, navigating food procurement, and accenting the cultural and social dynamics of our lives, all with a special focus on sustainability and decreasing food waste in all areas of our daily living. And while we know that's quite a paragraph, we're going to help you unpack it as the evening goes on.
For this presentation, we have three objectives: to explain the importance of eating a variety of foods from all food groups, to describe ways to eat with the environment in mind, including sustainability and ways to decrease food waste, and to describe the concept of mindful eating and to define what it means to you. When thinking about eating a balanced diet, we think about what we can include. It's great to include a variety of foods from all food groups, including plant-based foods such as fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, as well as lean animal protein and low-fat dairy products.
So as far as variety, all foods can fit into your diet pattern. We'd like to encourage a focus on whole food and clean eating. Whole food is food in its natural, unprocessed, or minimally processed form. Clean eating typically includes a focus on plant foods with healthful animal foods in moderation. Farm-to-table concept is becoming increasingly popular, which involves knowing where our food comes from, how it is grown, raised, made, with a focus on artisan food and simple ingredients. Expanding the variety of plant-based foods especially, these foods can improve the quality of your overall eating habits and make healthful eating more fun. Lots of colors, textures, and many benefits for helping reduce cancer risk and decrease other disease risk.
As Gina mentioned, plant-based foods focuses on minimally processed foods of plant origin, including fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Some examples of whole grains include brown rice, oatmeal, whole wheat bread, barley, bulgur, kasha, millet, farro, and quinoa, and legumes. Some examples include beans such as kidney, pinto, Great Northern, and black beans, as well as split peas and lentils. There are many benefits of a plant-based diet. It's high in fiber, phytochemicals, natural vitamins and minerals, and it's low in added sugar, low in sodium, and low in cholesterol and saturated fat. All in all, it leads to healthy weight management, improved heart health, diabetes prevention and management. It also helps to lower your blood pressure, promotes immune health, and promotes cancer risk reduction.
So how do we actually put this into practice? That's our goal, to help you learn. Plant-based food suggestions would include the following: some action tips to really help, make this easy on a daily basis for you. So for vegetables, flavor them. Serve them in a mixed dish with more familiar foods. That way it increases the taste acceptance. Use vegetables that can have a stronger flavor into a dish with robust flavor to balance it out. So if you've already got a lot of flavor going on, it's going to help mask that strong flavor of the vegetables and help everything meld together and be even more delicious. For grains, you can use familiar whole grains to replace a refined grain in favorite casseroles or soups, or as the basis of your favorite stir fry. So for instance, if you're typically using white rice, maybe switching over to brown rice, or if you're using regular pasta or couscous, switching to a whole wheat variety. Try quick cooking whole grains if time is in question. We want to help make this convenient for you. We don't want that to be a barrier. So also trying new intact whole grains is helpful because you'll be able to explore different tastes and textures and trial with different additional foods. Sometimes you may start out trying something with one ingredient, but then not like it so much, and then switch over to something different and like it better. For legumes or pulses, swap them for some or all of the meat in a stew or a pasta sauce. Will really help them to, kind of again meld in and disguises the flavor. Blend them to make hummus or another dip or a spread for sandwiches. Add them to soup or salad. If you actually include enough, you can turn a side dish into a main dish, by making sure you're having enough protein there. And experiment again with different tastes, textures, and other combinations of foods. For fruit, try different varieties of fruits like apples and pears. There are so many, and you might find that one is, let's say, juicier or sweeter than another, and you may enjoy that more. And that again increases the acceptance of the food. Enjoy fruit in a green salad. Sometimes that counterbalance of tastes and flavors really helps. Use it to replace jelly in sandwiches. Add it to unsweetened yogurt to replace high sugar options. And choose fruit plus nuts for an afternoon snack instead of an ultra processed food like chips or cookies. So, for a variety of foods, the American Institute for Cancer Research is really helpful. This is a resource that we often use a lot as dietitians for encouraging our patients to learn from. So, the new American plate model is the plate model that the AICR puts out. And basically, it focuses on using plant based ingredients as the foundation of your plate and adding small amounts of animal protein, up to 3 ounces per se. And that again kind of shifts the focus instead of it being a meat and animal centric plate where it's really heavily based on that. You've got more of the plant-based foods to give more benefits. You can also substitute a plant-based protein like beans, peas, lentils, or soy instead of the animal protein. And adding this 2 or more kinds of vegetables and a healthy serving of whole grains really completes the meal and rounds it out and makes it rich in cancer fighting nutrients. You can also add a fruit serving and one of dairy or a dairy alternative. So if you're not able to have dairy, maybe like oat milk or almond milk, and you can have that on the side for an even more nutritionally balanced meal. So the two pictures here, you've got basically showing those foods portioned out, but then you've also got a mixed meal so that you can see the difference and how, depending on your food preferences, you can make that happen. And then we like to put the My Plate for reference as well, because that's something that you may come across and see. But we really try to encourage the AICR model because it's got, a little bit more plant foods, especially vegetables that sometimes are harder to come by taste acceptance wise. So again, along the lines of variety, we want to encourage eating foods in various forms. So especially for fruits and vegetables, including fresh, frozen, canned, and dried, minimizing salts and other preservatives, of course, but really whatever you can get into your diet pattern as far as these produce and plant-based foods are concerned are helpful. That benefit is going to be very worthwhile. Also experimenting using different ingredients. So typically, if you've always used one type of a green vegetable, maybe switching over, or one type of an apple, switching over, and really, again, just working with the taste acceptance. A lot of times too, and we're going to get into a little bit on budgeting and shopping smart, but sometimes going with what's on sale is helpful, because things tend to rotate as far as what's on sale, and that might also help to increase cost effectiveness of your meals. Including your favorite cultural traditions and foods is helpful because that's going to feel familiar and comforting, and it'll be things that you're looking forward to eating. But also trying new foods and global cuisines is really worthwhile because you may discover things that you never knew you liked.
Staying nourished can be a simple process and it can be achieved on a variety of budgets. You can learn cooking, food preparation, and meal planning skills. Using a grocery list can help, especially with budgeting. And as Gina mentioned, shopping sales when purchasing your food from the grocery store. You can also learn more about community resources, which we'll go into more detail later on in the presentation, including SNAP, WIC, and local food banks. And practicing home food safety is a great way to help reduce food waste. Healthy eating on a budget includes several steps, including making a plan, shopping smart, and preparing healthy meals that fit your individual schedule. When making a plan, see what you already have in your home. You might be surprised with what ingredients that you have. Look in your cabinets, refrigerator, and freezer. Write down your meals for the week. So this includes your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snack options. You may go towards recipes that you're familiar with, or you may experiment with new recipes that you'd like to try. When you make a grocery list, buy a mix. Try fresh, frozen, and shelf stable items. When eating your foods, try to eat your fresh foods first so they don't go bad. Stock your freezer and your pantry with items that you can eat later on. And plan to use your leftovers. On busy days, you can heat and serve at your convenience.
So we encourage as far as shopping smart for fruits and vegetables, buy in-season produce. It usually costs less. It's at peak flavor. And but only purchase what you can use before it spoils. We want to again encourage minimizing waste and sustainability, so that's a helpful focus. Stock up on plain frozen vegetables without added sauces or butters. And frozen vegetables are as good for you as fresh are. And they're typically lower cost and they last for a longer period of time when properly stored in the freezer. So again, as Jennifer was saying, you can just, kind of put together simple meals, grab and go. It makes it much easier and user friendly. So this is a slide that incorporates the different seasons of the year and typically the foods, the fruits and vegetables that are at peak during those time periods. There is a guide on the USDA website, so please feel free to access that if you're not able to capture everything that's here right now. But this is good because then you're having what's in season, so it is not only cost effective, but at its peak, so peak nutritional value as well.
Shopping for grains is a great budget friendly option. To make it healthier, you can choose to make half of your grains whole grains. Again, some examples could be whole wheat pasta, brown rice, bulgur, buckwheat, and oatmeal. When you read your ingredients list, try to choose the items that have a whole grain listed first. For example, you can choose hot cereals like plain oatmeal or whole grain dry cereal. When choosing snacks, you can choose whole grain options. Great examples would be switching over to whole wheat crackers or making your own popcorn. And also shop smartly for different proteins in your diet. When selecting plant-based protein like beans, there are so many examples to choose from, such as kidney beans, lima beans, split peas, garbanzo beans, which are also known as chickpeas, and lentils. These can be stored in your pantry and are a low-cost option. When shopping for meat and poultry, which can be expensive at the grocery store, to help you lower your costs, try to buy the family size or the value pack whenever possible. Use what you need and freeze what you don't immediately use. Whenever you can, choose the lean protein options. Some examples would be chicken and turkey. When shopping for fish, canned fish is a great choice. Some examples are canned tuna, salmon, and sardines. These are also a great pantry item and are a low-cost option. Next slide, please. You can also budget by understanding what the price tags mean at the grocery store. Look at the retail price, which is the price that you pay for one single item versus the unit price. The unit price is the cost of an item by its size or unit. So for example, this could be by the pound, the ounce, quart, or another measurement. We have one example on the slide in front of you. On the top, you see a 32-ounce container of yogurt. The unit price is 5 cents, while the retail price is $1.62. On the bottom, you see a 6-ounce yogurt. The unit price is 12 cents, while the retail price is 72 cents. So you can see that the image shows two different price tags on the shelf. Based on the unit price, you can see that the larger container is a better buy because you're getting more for your money.
So as far as preparing healthy meals, we want to have you keep it simple. Stretch recipes by adding other food items. So add rice to soups and stews, frozen vegetables to pasta dishes, or beans to burgers. Have a potluck. It's a great option for large families or groups of friends and creates less work for you and allows everyone to make and sample each other's creations. So it really is nice to see what everybody brings and why and have them maybe explain a little bit about it. And it just helps us all get to know each other better and enjoy the food. And maybe again, trying different things that you've never tried before, and then it becomes a fan favorite. So, for preparing healthy meals within use of community resources, if you're eligible, and there is a frequently asked questions section on the website, and that's listed down below. If you do need access to that, and please let us know. But happy to describe a little bit about these programs so that you get to know. SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is a federal program that provides nutrition benefits to individuals and families. And these are used to purchase food at stores. The Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, also referred to as WIC, it provides federal grants to states for supplemental foods, healthcare referrals, and nutrition education for low-income pregnant, breastfeeding, and non-breastfeeding postpartum women, and also for infants and children up to age 5 who are found to be at nutritional risk. So it's a really nice way to, hone in and help the family and, make sure that everybody's needs are being met at these, critical stages where the nutrients are necessary. And then for child nutrition programs, these are meals and innovative activities for schools and childcare programs. Some examples include the National School Lunch Program, the Breakfast Program, Child and Adult Care Food Program, Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, Special Milk Program, USDA Foods in Schools, Farm to School, I apologize for that typo there, team nutrition and food safety. And again, the farm to school aspect is really nice because again, we're emphasizing the farm to fork aspect, teaching children at a young age so they can grow up with an appreciation of where the food comes from and hopefully increase sustainability for time to come to help the environment as well.
When thinking about food safety, there are 4 simple steps, which we'll get into detail of. This includes clean, separate, cook, and chill. Next slide, please.
So for cleaning, and we often, in the work that we do on a daily basis with our patients, we often cover food safety quite a bit. Very important, especially when patients are going through treatment. But really, you want to focus on keeping things clean. So lathering up first and foremost before eating, before touching food, you want to wash your hands with soap and running water for at least 20 seconds. And while that can seem like a quick amount of time, sometimes it's longer when you actually count it out. So we want to use that time frame to make sure that we're washing properly and really getting rid of germs and bacteria. So counting to 20 slowly or singing the happy birthday song twice is a good way to keep yourself on track with the timing. Creating a safe cooking space. You want to wash your countertops and cooking surfaces, keep everything clean. So again, the space that you're using is clean. So we're preparing clean food in a clean space, and eating clean, rinsing those fruits and vegetables under running water. Even if you're going to be cutting them up, you really want to scrub them anyway, and really kind of get in there and make sure before you start cutting and peeling that the food has been properly cleaned. A lot of times it's very easy to make a cut into a fruit or vegetable and pull in any bacteria that's on the surface if it's not been cleaned ahead of time. Okay. Same thing, cleaning before opening. You want to wash food packaging, especially lids of cans and jars before opening. A lot of times there can be dust collecting and dust can carry bacteria, so you want to be careful there. And then rules for tools, washing your cutting boards, knives, and other cooking utensils in hot soapy water or putting in the dishwasher after each use is really helpful. And also, just making sure that everything is done in a timely fashion after preparing. You don't want to let things sit for too long and then clean them. Trying to keep on time, is really important in this aspect.
Food safety tip includes separation of foods. Try to separate your raw meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and flour from produce or any foods that are ready to eat. It's best to keep them separate while shopping, storing, and cooking, so there's no cross contamination. You can put lids on raw meats and seafood as well. Place it in a sealed container, put plastic wrap on lower shelves of the fridge and freezer. One great tip is to put the raw meats and fish on the lower shelf, because if you put it on the upper shelf, if it wasn't stored properly or if it wasn't wrapped properly with plastic, potentially any liquid drippings would fall onto your produce, which we wouldn't want. If you can, use a separate set of cooking tools for raw meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and flour. But if you can't, you can always wash your cooking tools thoroughly in hot soapy water in between cooking with produce and cooking with meats, eggs, or flour. Again, just to prevent any possible cross contamination. When you're grilling, barbecuing, or cooking your meat, try to use different plates for raw and cooked meat as well. When storing your eggs in the fridge, when you store it on the fridge door, it could actually expose them to uneven temperatures.
Mm.
So it is better to store your eggs on lower shelves whenever possible in their original carton.
For cooking, you want to heat it before you eat it. So use a food thermometer to check that your food has reached a safe internal temperature. That's in degrees Fahrenheit, 145 for seafood, also 145 with a 3-minute rest time for beef, pork, and ham, 160 for ground meat, meat mixtures, and egg dishes, and 165 for poultry, microwaved foods, and reheated leftovers. So making sure that it's been cooked to that temperature really ensures that bacteria at the core or within has been, that it's been made safe that way. Doughs or don'ts, eggs and flours are not safe to eat unless they're fully cooked. Again, they could have been exposed to bacteria, and we want to be careful there. Turn the tables when microwaving. Make sure to rotate food to allow for even heating and always follow directions for cooking and standing time. So sometimes things will be, says cook for 4 minutes, but then it's rest for 1 minute. And that resting time really allows the heat to seep in and get to where it needs to. And then dishing it out. When eating at restaurants, avoid foods that contain raw or undercooked egg, meat, poultry, or seafood, and ask the server if you're not sure. You just definitely want to take precautions in places because, we're not in control when we're in those settings. So we want to make sure that, all the proper measures have been taken at all the checkpoints so that it's thoroughly safe.
Good safety tip is chill. When you're shopping at the grocery store, pick up your perishable items and try to take them straight home. So try not to make any stops in between. So that way you can put things that need to be put in the refrigerator or freezer right where they need to be. Um, you can also chill your groceries, leftovers, and food delivery items within 2 hours or 1 hour if exposed to temperatures that are above 90 degrees. Using an appliance thermometer to set the fridge to 40 degrees or below and freezer at 0 degrees or below is also helpful. Whenever you're storing your food in your fridge or freezer or your fridge or your refrigerator, it's always good to leave space in between to let the air circulate in between. And if you're bringing foods home, bring cold foods on the go, pack them with ice or in an insulated container to keep it nice and chilled. When you're eating with the environment in mind, try to get creative with your leftovers and ways to reduce food waste. Eating more plant based meals and snacks, buy foods in season and from local farmers whenever possible. Growing your food at home or in a community garden is also a great way to promote sustainability. Mindful eating is also a great thing to practice whenever possible. Whenever you're eating, it's good to keep these questions in mind. What are you thinking about when you're eating? Do you think that cultivating gratitude and appreciation might be helpful? And what might doing this offer to you and or how might it benefit you?
So we love this topic of mindful eating, and there really are three core aspects: sensory, community, and spiritual. For the sensory aspect, it really focuses on the physical, focusing your attention on your food, activating your sense of taste as an ally in increasing acceptance of and preference for plant-forward meals. I'll just touch on really quickly, there was an article and a study that was the flexitarian flip, and I love this because it really took, again, that plant centric focus, or rather the meat centric focus at the core, and then inverted it, and it became plant centric by including different flavors, spices, and it showed that when we changed that, I think it increased by like 75% or something the taste acceptance that people then had for it. But it was pretty profound because then they're getting that plant based benefit in a way that tastes good and really increase the acceptance. The community aspect, to investigate more about the food you eat. So again, that farm to fork, and purchasing locally grown food wherever possible. Looking for transparent companies with minimal ingredients and sustainable practices. Sometimes if patients mention products to us, we'll call the companies and find out, what's actually in this. And, and if they can't speak clearly to us about their process, we then encourage patients to find products where they can. But, simpler is better. And, that's something that we can really encourage and respect. And then there's the spiritual aspect, tuning into the benefit that the food offers. And that helps to enhance gratitude and honor, especially when we think about these plant based foods and the phytochemicals, the plant compounds that are in there, and how they can prevent disease. And, that's really pretty amazing. So I think, harnessing that power of all the available resources is really what we want to encourage. So we think too, it comes down to sustainability and what can we really sustain long term. And this is where we like to call it the life factor comes in. So, clean, strong nutrition, let's say 80 to 90% of the time, and then really enjoying what you want that other percentage of time. And everyone has to define what that means for them and really pick and choose the foods that they want to focus on or the foods they feel like they can't live without. Eating for nourishment and really taking that appropriate time for meals to enjoy is helpful, is important, but not denying yourself. I think it's that balance, and every day we really try to help people find that balance so that they can enjoy their lives, enjoy the food itself, enhance their quality of life. This is all important. And along with that comes the adoption of a balanced lifestyle. This is actually a concept called lifestyle medicine, and it focuses on mainly the four pillars of nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and stress management. So in addition here, we like to include social interaction because that's really important, especially with meals and, taking that time to get to know people and to really enjoy the food, allow the digestive process to happen appropriately. We live in a society where things can be very rushed, and we want to help people take it down a notch and really enjoy and appreciate.
A healthy eating routine can vary from person to person. It's an individual. The key takeaway is take the time to find out what works best for you. While what works may change from time to time, the key is to be present with yourself in this process as it's ever evolving. Food is the common thread between all of us.
Appreciate your curiosity and you taking the time tonight to be present with us for this presentation, and we look forward to answering your questions. So I think, like everything, it's relative. Depending on whether or not someone's able to consume animal protein versus plant protein, that would be part of the, let's say, driving decision, or what would drive the decision. The thing with animal protein is that it's a high biological value where pretty much all animal proteins contain all essential amino acids, and the amino acids are the building blocks of protein. Plant proteins contain amino acids, but sometimes in different combinations. So that's why we have to eat a wider range of plant proteins to gather as many amino acids as possible. Certain plant foods do actually contain all essential amino acids, and those are soy, quinoa, and pistachio nuts. There may be others. Those are the only ones I'm familiar with to this point. But again, I think decision as far as that goes. And one thing to mention with the plant-based proteins and amino acids is that it used to be thought that you had to eat a plant protein with a grain every time, like, so let's say rice and beans every single time. But more of the current research has shown that you can eat, let's say if you want to have the beans now or the grain later or whatnot, but just as long as you're getting what you need within a 24-hour period, you'll still absorb as well. It doesn't have to be, super structured. Of course, though, like we were saying, the mixed meals lend such a benefit. So you can, of course, combine them, but sometimes it just takes a little bit of the pressure off there too, if someone wants to focus on a plant-based diet.
Gina brought up a lot of great points. I will say, probably in the typical American diet, it is mainly animal protein based. But if you're looking for ways to try to make healthier choices, you can always start off slowly. A very popular concept is called Meatless Mondays, where people try to incorporate some sort of plant based protein. So, for example, maybe beans or quinoa. So there's a lot of ways to try to incorporate plant-based proteins into your diet as well.
Organic, non-GMO whole food soy is really what you want to focus on if you're going to eat soy. So things like edamame, tofu, tempeh, even unsweetened soy milk. These are whole food soy sources that have important plant compounds and that can actually enhance your body in different ways and prevent disease and decrease disease risk. So especially for breast cancer, they can actually decrease breast cancer risk versus eating processed soy. So like a lot of the, meat analogs or soy cold cuts and things, again, once in a while might be okay, but not consistently. It's the processed soy that can carry the risk. As well as other plant foods actually containing soy, I think, could it be phytoestrogens? Because that I know I get asked that question a lot by patients, as far as soy and foods like chickpeas or flax having these phytoestrogens. But again, they're really helpful plant-based compounds that help decrease disease risk. They're not the same as human estrogen. They don't mimic human estrogen quite the same way. So I know that's just a point of confusion that kind of comes up a lot. So we like to clarify that, but I'll see if you have to anything to.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, in addition to trying to limit or avoid processed soy, you would also want to try to avoid soy pills or soy in supplemental form. Typically, when things are in pill or in supplemental form, they tend to be in very high dosages, more than what we would typically obtain from eating in a general healthy diet. So whenever possible, we always encourage people to obtain their nutrients through foods versus in supplemental form as well. Um, One of the great resources that we use is the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which offers a lot of great recipes, including plant-based recipes. And another great resource is the American Institute for Cancer Research. They also include a wide variety of recipes, including for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack options. Um, just from my personal experience as well, I also like using recipes from the American Heart Association as well as the American Diabetes Association. To each of those respective websites have a recipes section, which can be used for reference.
I'm going to say probably more yes than no. I guess it depends on how often you would use it. But I love to always share this, depending on what you're using it for, especially if you're using it to coat a pan and so that obviously things won't stick. Using a little bit of water or even like a vegetable broth will create the same effect, have the same sort of function, but without that potential risk in the propellant, as well as really kind of enhances the flavor even more, especially when you're using the broth. Maybe not as much the water. You might have to add some herbs and spices with the water, but the broth can be really helpful for that.
Great tip.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess it depends what you're cooking, maybe something, like I'm thinking if you're going to make an egg and you don't necessarily want to put broth in there, but in that case, maybe a little bit of just, high quality olive oil or another type of oil rather than the spray itself.
Question comes up a lot with some of our patients as well. I know there's some concern about possibly some of the metals in air fryer leaching onto the food, what's being cooked inside of the air fryer. To be honest, there's some mixed research about that. Also considering that air fryers are relatively new, like relatively came into popularity a few years ago. One of the things that I like to do is, and this is something that you can purchase online, for example, from Amazon, you can buy liners. It's essentially parchment paper. So you can put that on the lining, that lining into the air fryer basket itself, and then you can put your foods right onto that liner so there's no direct contact with the metal if that's a concern.